welcome to the channel. Thank you for joining me. I do truly appreciate it. I recently went to Birmingham, Alabama. I spent a little time in Fort Payne with the kids, having a good time. Then we went over to Birmingham, Alabama, met with a guy by the name of Grady Hendrix. Ever hear of him? We're at the O'Neill Library. Under the mountain is what they call the event. But I got to meet Grady Hendrix, and I'm going to show you some of the stuff from the event, and then I'll also show you what I got signed and some of the cool stuff there. But it's a very fun event, worthwhile endeavor, and I put the O'Neill Public Library on my watch list. I got my eye on you guys because I want to check out any future events. I found out while I was there talking to a nice lady in line that I had missed Stephen Graham Jones at an event at that library, which was sad to know now. I wish I didn't know now what I didn't know then. Here's how it went down, and here's what I saw, some of it. We are en route to Birmingham, Alabama. From Fort Payne. We're on top of the mountain here in Fort Payne and getting ready to go see Grady Hendrix and hoping that it all works out well.
Hopefully the line doesn't stretch all the way back to Terre Haute this time.
Hey, here we are at the O'Neill Public Library. We're getting ready to go inside and snoop around a little bit. Grady Hendrix is going to be here a little later on. Hopefully we can get some stuff signed and have a good time.
Mama is a chiropractor.
I recognize some of these titles. Cool. Fire department next to the library. That's convenient. A little bit tall for my shelves.
It's really big.
Good. Wow, man, you got a stack, dude.
A bunch at home. These were just ones I had the one already signed.
Fair enough. What's your name, sir?
Name's Tim.
You want to make these out to you?
I prefer we don't. I got a vast collection, but I try not to.
Personalize them? Yeah, that's fine.
I don't know, French is against
No worries. Thank you, I really appreciate it. Glad you're doing the binding on them.
From your website, from SST.
Oh, yeah.
We sold our souls. And,
Wait, what's your last name?
Goodwill?
I just mailed those out to you, right?
Sure, I just got them this last one. You actually send those out yourself.
Oh, yeah. I get someone to help me out with them, but yeah, but no, I sit there and set up a big folding table and do them all myself.
Yeah, it's neat because I already ordered. I get the matching number from SST.
Yeah.
But yours have the neat inscriptions in them. So it makes it a little bit more.
Sorry to make you double dip. But I think
doubles on the shelf. I'll have the Grady Hendrix slot is getting bigger and bigger.
Well, it's funny. I think Paul does such an amazing job with those. Like, yeah, that Only Good Indians version they did was amazing.
The cover, the dust jacket was awesome. And they sold a bundle of your own.
Yeah.
And I said, shoot, I better be Grady Hendrix. He got me into your books. Paul Friday.
Oh, that's awesome.
I read HORRORSTOR, and man, I dug that.
Oh, thank you.
I really liked it. Then I jumped into my best friend's Exorcism. I love that.
Was that your era?
I cried several times.
It's actually a really nice compliment.
Yeah, I did. I got teary-eyed multiple times during the book, but I really loved it. And yeah, I was born in the late 70s. So I grew up in the 80s. So much stuff run through with me.
Oh yeah. Well, it's funny, doing that book was such a weird, like, meditative state, like, to travel back in time. So it was so fun to write, because it was like, I remember stuff I forgot to, like, cruising watch.
Yeah, it seems like you wrote the ladies so well in that book.
Oh, thank you.
It's almost like it was written by
No, I appreciate
somebody with that kind of insight.
Well, it's like I had 3 older sisters, you know, like we make stuff up, right?
I've got a YouTube channel. It's terrific where I do unboxings and reviews and stuff like that.
What's it called?
It's terrific. I'm not asking you to watch it.
No, I'm always curious.
But I set the camera up just so I could do a video. So I had this down here. I found out, no, it's only one. So I'm at the hotel. And I was going to have my son man the camera. So I brought my trusty tripod.
Well, tell them it was the worst thing ever and they didn't miss a thing.
I'm sure they would
be like, this is so boring, guys. You're lucky you weren't there.
The one for Thanksgiving, I got a card.
Oh yeah, and someone who supports me, I'm always gonna be sending shit.
Things are such neat little touches.
Oh yeah, but I don't know. It's like great that people have nice stuff. Tell your family doesn't miss a thing.
They're watching movies and
Thanks, Jim. Thanks. Hey, Grady. Nice to meet you. Great hair. I'm not wearing my glasses, so you're one of the few people I can spot.
All right, so we got to meet Grady Hendrix. Some tough things about it. I had booked the ticket, booked the event. That when you do it online, there's an option to add a guest. So I added a guest. I added one of my sons. And when I got the paper, it didn't mention that. So I went back and I did it again. It still didn't mention that. And I should have called then, but I didn't. So the day before the event, I did call and said, hey, my son's name is not on this paper here. It's still in the system though, right? And they said, no. By the way, the event's full. You can't bring your son. I ended up leaving him at the hotel, which he probably enjoyed more, watching TV and stuff like that, eating Pizza Hut. So I was here alone. I brought me a little stand to set my camera on just in case I had a chance, and I did. One of the things was they didn't want anybody videotaping anything during the show. So Grady Hendrix did probably, I want to say an hour or maybe more than an hour where he talked, and he has, if you ever check out Grady Hendrix podcast, he's got a podcast called something about super scary homeschool or something like that. You can look it up. I'll put a link in the description on the video, but he's got a podcast where he does some cool stuff. He'll talk about a topic. I think those are usually based on vampires. So he'll pick a vampire topic and he'll have a good half hour talking about them. And it's funny and it's got a bunch of information that you probably never heard of. And it's very ironic. I don't know how else to describe it, but check it out. He did something like that at this event, talking about haunted houses and how to sell haunted houses, and then got into ghosts and a lot of different things, and wrapped it back up at the end with selling a haunted house. So very cool, very fun, very funny. I liked it a lot. And before the show and after the show, he was signing books. So a lot of folks lined up before the show and got stuff signed, and then those that didn't lined up after the show and got stuff signed, and you'll see a bunch of people were there. Anyway, I figure I'll show you some of the stuff I got signed by Grady Hendrix. He hooked a brother up. He took care of me, and I was pretty excited about what I get to add, backfill in my collection. Problem is, most of the stuff I had by him was already signed. So I brought some reader copies of books. I brought some hardcovers that weren't signed, a couple that I had that weren't signed, and I even bought a couple things on Amazon so I could have some stuff. But one of the things that they gave out there at the O'Neill Library was this neat postcard covering my best friend's exorcism, as you could probably tell just by looking at it. And I was there, so I went ahead and got Grady Hendrix to sign that postcard for me. Really cool. And here's a couple things that I got in the mail directly from Grady Hendrix. A couple of postcards as well. This one referring to Thanksgiving and how to sell a haunted house, an ad. So this is Thanksgiving-oriented one, and he signed that one there for me. And this one was for Valentine's Day. And again, came in the mail, and he signed that one for me as well. So just a couple neat little keepsakes. These are things that were sent out. I think this one came with the order that I got from Grady Hendrix. Ordered a couple of SST limited edition books. I think this one came with that. The other one came by itself in the mail in an envelope. So real neat touches, cool things that authors do like that make the experience feel a little bit more special and a little bit more personal. So back to the books that I got signed. Here's one. This is a re-release book under a different title, and I think it's been rewritten some. And I bought this one on Amazon when it first came out, and that's Bad Astronauts. It's a novella, trade soft cover, and a very excellent cover as well. And it's from Jabberwocky Books. The art is from Doogie Horner. It looks really cool. And this was originally published under the title Occupy Space, but now it's available as Bad Astronauts. And I bought this one on Amazon, I think. But Grady Hendrix signed it for me. Very cool signature. For each one, he wrote a little bit of extra something rather than just giving a signature. The sky belongs to everyone, Grady Hendrix. And he would ask, do you want me to put your name on there? Every person that walked up, he'd say, hi, how you doing? What's your name? Shake hands, a little bit of personal interaction. But when he would sign, he'd ask, do you want your name on there? And I'm prejudiced in some way against personalized autographs. I don't know why. I think maybe it came from trying to find signed things years and years ago and seeing other people's names on it, and I didn't want it, and it kind of prevented me from getting things that I wanted. And then when I would get stuff signed myself, I had that nasty taste in my mouth. I guess, I don't know. It's not like I am selling these things. I've sold some books, but I keep all these books for my collection. I tend to buy stuff I want, not stuff I want to get rid of again. But when I get something signed, I prefer not to have it signed to me, just to have it signed. But he goes ahead and puts cool additional inscriptions on the books, which really makes it neat. Cool thing to have in the collection. The next one I want to show you, I was a reader copy. I bought this book. HORRORSTOR was the first book I ever read of Grady Hendrix. And I thought these trade soft covers were so neat from Quirk Books that I just had to have one of these. So I bought this trade soft cover version of HORRORSTOR, and I read it, and it spent a little time in a suitcase bouncing around on a trip that I took. So it's not in perfect shape. It's a reader copy, but I was glad that I kept it instead of giving it away. Some neat stuff that I put in here. It's built like a catalog. See, ORSC is the knockoff for IKEA, and in the book it's sort of a knockoff of IKEA. They say they're better than IKEA, but the second version of IKEA, and they do things so much alike. Of course, like so many times in retail, they'll say we're much different because we do this instead of that. We don't do that, we do this. But it's a really good book. I loved it. It made me a fan right off the bat of Grady Hendrix. I especially loved the finish. Anyway, just checking out that trade soft cover. Some cool stuff. And so he signed it here for me with, again, neat inscription. I think every one of these autographed books have some sort of inscription. This book is probably not going to kill you. No returns, Grady Hendrix. So very cool. Glad to have that one because I like the book and it was a reader copy, and it's such a neat way to publish a book. Fun on top of fun is always good, and then getting it signed is even better. Now, this will be the second reader copy of a Grady Hendrix book, and the second Grady Hendrix book I read, and my favorite. In fact, I love this book. I would say I love this book. And it is my best friend's Exorcism. This is a book that is strange. I wouldn't think that a guy like me, and a guy like me is something that I define. You don't get to say guy like me. I get to say guy like me because I know me. Kind of. But a guy like me doesn't tend to want to read books about teenage girls. Sorry. I don't know what it's like to be a teenage girl. I never understood teenage girls. 46 years old, I still don't understand teenage girls. But it seems like Grady Hendrix does, at least from my vantage point. He wrote a book, phenomenal book, about teenage girls. And My Best Friend's Exorcism, I love this book. Not only was the 80s nostalgia amazing, I grew up in the 80s. I was born in 76, so I did a lot of developing in the 80s. And I still dig so much from that era. I don't necessarily like the hair, but the music, the movies, stuff like that, I really do love. And this book touches on a lot of that nostalgia. as well as tugs on the heartstrings. Some, I must admit, I cried wet cheeks more than once in this book, and I really dug the ending. So Grady stuck the finish on this one, which for me is an important thing. And if you look at the cover of this book, again, I had to buy it just because it looks so doggone cool, and this is the copy I read. It reminds me of the video stores back in the 80s, Mr. Video over in Bushnell, Florida. The tapes would be in this cardboard box. It would slide up from the bottom, and they would, at the video store, they would have these little plastic containers where the paper box would sit inside and wouldn't come out with the tape. You squeeze it and the tape comes out. But anyway, they would have stickers on them, advertising, whether it be the discount section or whatever, but things like be kind and please rewind and such. Even as much as when you'd buy the tapes at the store, they'd have the little sticker that would go across the bottom, and you'd have to cut it to get the tape out. Just phenomenal. And then you'd have the cool action scenes and the synopsis, trying to sell that tape at the store or at the video store. And this book just looks great. I love the way it looks. And it was a phenomenal story. And what Grady did, there we go. I found the page right there. Enjoy your exorcism, Grady Hendrix. So nice stuff, man. I'm really excited to put these things back on the shelf with additions. And the third book of Grady Hendrix that I read, again, this is this trade softcover version of the book that I read. It's a sort of homage, I guess you could say, or as my kids would say, a knockoff of the Rolling Stone magazine. And it fits the story very well. You get to this story, you'll understand why. It fits the story very well. It looks so cool, and I just love what Quirk has done working with Grady Hendrix on a lot of these trade soft covers, making them fun. And when a book looks cool on the shelf, I'm more likely to want it on the shelf. So there you go. There's the signature as well as inscription that he hooked a brother up with. Never stop rocking, Grady. So my good friend Grady, there you go. All right, this is one that I had to buy on Amazon because I wanted a copy, but I didn't have a copy. It was running short on time when I finally decided I'm going. So I bought this on Amazon, and this is Paperbacks from Hell. And when I read this title, no matter what, every time I think of the Weird Al Yankovic song, also from the 80s. I think it was from the 80s. Yeah, I think so. Nature Trail to Hell. Nature Trail to Hell. Every time I see this title, I think of Weird Al's Nature Trail to Hell. Anyway, Paperbacks from Hell talks about paperback books from a certain era, 70s and 80s. The twisted history of 70s and 80s horror fiction. But a phenomenal cover. And it's not fiction. I guess you would say it's non-fiction. Talking about some of these paperback stories. It gives a little bit about each one, and it's fun. It's not just a straight through narration telling you what this book's about. It's making light of them and sometimes having fun with them in some situations, and lots of cool covers and cool artwork, because that's what these things were known for. Not necessarily being the most coherent plots, but having some very wild and outlandish subjects, happenings, characters, and lots of cool artwork. So it's a neat era, and it was neat that Grady Hendrix did attack it in such a way. And he signed this one for me on some phenomenal art right there, and added a cool little inscription again, "Welcome to Hell, Grady Hendrix." And one thing of note, the guy was hooked up. He wasn't sitting there holding a black Sharpie waiting to sign every book with his black Sharpie like a lot of folks do at an autograph signing. They'll have a Sharpie or they'll have a pen, and they'll try to sign everything with that. He had a very large assortment of things sitting on his table so they'd be prepared for each book. And he had a thing that he was going to write in each book, and he had stamps, and he'd grab this stamp for that one and put it down, and then he'd sign it with the appropriate type of pen, whether it be a silver paint marker or a Sharpie or something like that. So he was prepared to make your final outcome or product right. Not just you got an autograph, now go on, be happy with what you got. He wanted to hook us up. He took time, the line was long, and he took time with each person to make sure that they got what they were hoping to get when they got there. The next one, I had multiple versions of this book, a trade softcover which I read, a signed limited edition version from SST Publications, actually 2 of those. But I didn't have a regular old trade hardcover, so I went on Amazon and ordered this, and I didn't know there was some extra cool stuff. That black sprayed page ends, dust jacket on the book that looks very, very good. We sold our souls, and phenomenal. It looks really, really good. But I got this one signed as well. This one he put this as a stamp that he had. He put that stamp there, and then he drew the little thought bubble or speech bubble or whatever that is, says "Rock on," and then signed it as well. So a great experience, and made my stuff cool and fun. The next one, this is a book that I already had. I bought this one from the man with 4 names, Stephen Dwayne Allison Jr. It came with the signed book plate already unattached, and I just typically don't attach book plates to my book, so it came with this one, and a little letter. The little letter also was included, but the book itself wasn't signed, so I figured I'd just take the book and get it signed as well. So now I got a signed book with a signed book plate, and here he put several of these back stamps on there and signed it as well at the bottom. "We hate books." And there you go. That's the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. And I think this one is going to be next up on my Grady Hendrix reading. I need to read this one, but I think I'll read this one next. How to Sell a Haunted House is another one I need to read, but I think this one will be next up on my list for Grady Hendrix. And the last thing I got signed was something that occurred to me just before I left. Wait a second, one of the anthologies I have has a Grady Hendrix story in it. And I really love this anthology, and I love the way it looks and all that kind of stuff. But this one right here, Attack from the 80s. And it, again, 80s nostalgia I really, really dig. And it has stories from a lot of great authors that I dig. And it's from a publisher called Raw Dog Screaming Press. So if you're going to call your business Raw Dog Screaming Press, maybe I should check it out. But Grady Hendrix signed it right here on the title page where I asked him to. In case I ever get any of these other authors to sign it, they'll all be in one neat little location. Trick or Treat, Grady Hendrix. He kind of raised his eyebrows and was almost seemed interested to have somebody drop this book down in front of him on the shelf. And it includes stories from people like Joe and Casey Lansdale. Joe Lansdale is one of my favorite authors, and I collect his stuff. And Casey Lansdale has penned, I think with her dad, has penned a series of character stories that I really dig. And she's a great podcaster. There's some dramatic, I guess it'd be dramatic audio books, whatever, where she's done the voices for them. Phenomenal. What else? Thomas F. Monteleone. I've heard that name before. Where have I heard it from? Who else? John Skip, another one. Tim Wagner, Stephen Graham Jones, Jeff Strand. I'm just looking for names that I know. F. Paul Wilson. Some cool folks, including a guy by the name of Grady Hendrix, who wrote Stranger Danger for this story, and quite a few others. There's the table of contents if you're looking to find out what the stories are from each contributor. There it is, but a very neat anthology. And it's a hardcover book, and I don't know what you'd call it, library bound, I guess, where the artwork is directly implanted on the cover. And it's a very soft, almost velvety sort of cover. I don't know. Very soft, very cool, tactile experience by touching. But beautiful, cool. And that's the stuff I got signed by Grady Hendrix. A phenomenal time, a phenomenal event, a great guy. And I can think of no more lies to tell. Seems like I should, but that's all I got. It's gone. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. C'est la vie, baby.
C'est la vie.